What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Today is Monday, motherfucker. Back with some questions, a lot of great ones. Let's get right into it. Now, for the first one, a lot of you guys asked basically the same question in different words, so I'm not going to read all of them. You can see them on the screen. And it was regarding Rigondeaux will he be sparring Manny Pacquiao. So it's from Ali Dago 619. I'm hearing that Rigondeaux is one of Pacquiao's sparring partners. Do you think there's a chance this could be true? And I guess it was reported on GMA, a Filipino news station. Now, Ego Mythbusters, I'm going to say this is false. Here's a few reasons. One, Rigondeaux posted this on Instagram. It's just a picture of him when he was training with Freddie Roach, so a vintage picture next to Manny Pacquiao. There was no caption, and I think people started to speculate. Obviously, Pacquiao has a big, huge fight coming up. Rigondeaux, his style gets likened to Floyd Mayweather, so I think people their wheels started turning and they just assume like, oh, he's training, like, oh, he fights like Floyd or defensively. So that's what he meant by posting it, and people ran with it, in my opinion, because someone asked him about it. They said, will you be sparring with Manny Pacquiao? And whoever's handling Rigondeaux's account said, no, my friend. So they replied and said, no, I'm not. So things could have changed, but until otherwise proven, I'm going to say this is false. Another reason is because this is just a rumor. I heard that Rigondeaux used to challenge Pacquiao and give him problems back in the day. If anything, I would say Rigondeaux has come a long way. Back when he was with Freddie Roach the first time, I don't even think he had double-digit pro fights. Now he does. Now he's beaten guys like Joseph Ikbeko. He's highly avoided by guys in his division like Leo Santa Cruz. He beat Nonito Donaire, a guy who won Fighter of the Year or whatever and had 4 fights the previous year before he fought him. So I think Rigondeaux's confidence should be at an all-time high. So if he gave Pacquiao problems back then, who knows what will happen now. Now, the reason I say that is because if you know sparring and training camps, you don't want your fighter, your star fighter, going into a big fight with doubts. And if Pacquiao loses confidence from fighting a tricky guy like Rigondeaux, what is that going to do when it comes to like a bigger version in a Floyd Mayweather? And I don't even think Rigondeaux and Floyd Mayweather fight all too alike. There's some similarities, but they're still different. But the point being is you don't want your fighter to have doubts. You don't want them to lose confidence before a big fight. I know fighters, I've talked to fighters who have been kicked out of training camps for, in essence, doing too good. They did too well, and then they got sent home like, oh, you're not exactly what we need. And that's because it's a very common practice. You don't want your fighter to lose confidence by getting bested and go into their fight with doubts or lose focus on the mission at hand. So again, if the rumor is true and Rigondeaux did challenge and give Pacquiao troubles, and he's in a lighter division, I don't know if Freddie Roach would bring him in again to cause that type of potential issue. And that's just my opinion. Next question comes from Joaquin Berger. Another Rigondeaux question. Considering he can't get a big fight at 122, do you think Rigondeaux should move up to 126? There he could fight Walters and Lomachenko. Now, I like Walters and Lomachenko fights for Rigondeaux, but those guys would have a supreme size advantage because I think Rigondeaux is truthfully a natural 122. I've seen recent pictures of Nicholas Walters, and he looked big. His offseason, he looked like he's 150 to 160. So he looked real big. Rigondeaux's not that big of a dude. I think his natural weight is 122. But similar to Mayweather, I think he gets away on skill beating bigger guys than him. But I really think he's a 122 pounder. He's short. He's small. Like if you look at the body mass, he doesn't look as big as Nonito Donaire, as Nicholas Walters and stuff like that. So me, I like those fights. Those are good fights. But I don't think a fighter, a champion, should have to move up immediately because other top 10, other top champions won't fight him. I think other fighters should man up instead of them move up, if that makes sense. I think Gennady Golovkin's in a similar situation. Now, I have no problem with Triple G versus Andre Ward, but if Gennady Golovkin can make weight, hasn't had an issue making weight to this point that I remember, and he wants to clean out his division like he says, I don't think he should be forced to have to move up because he can't get a fight with Peter Quillen, Andy Lee, David Lemieux, Miguel Cotto. I think those guys should man up and fight Triple G to see who's the best middleweight. Same thing with Rigondeaux. There's talent in his division. Now, it'd be one thing if there was nobody in his division. If he didn't have Frampton, who just looked good in his last fight. If he didn't have Quigg. If he didn't have Leo Santa Cruz, who's undefeated. There's talent at 122. So again, I think the talent should face the other talent. Champions should unify. Again, if there's no talent, like let's say you're at junior or welterweight, there's no money fights, no real big talent, big names. So you move up to 147, which is a stacked division. Okay, that makes sense. But I don't think Rigondeaux should have to move to 26 when you have champions, undefeated champions at 122 who he's called out and he's willing to fight. Again, I think those fighters should man up. Next question. W. Blake 22. Do all fighters who say they fight for the fans say that because they have bad defense? Is it a shameful tactic to get a skilled and athletic fighter to fight their fight? It's a tricky question because I can't speak on behalf of all fighters, but when people say, look at it like this. If you have the ability to move like Rigondeaux, the finesse of Floyd Mayweather, or Sweet Pea Pernell Whitaker, why wouldn't you? That's like me walking everywhere, to the grocery store, to the movies, and I'm like, oh, I got a car, I got a Corvette in the garage, I'm just not going to use it. So every fighter is blessed with certain intangibles, certain skills, and certain things they do well. So why not use it? If you have the ability to slip punches, to dodge punches, to use head movement, then why wouldn't you? You're selling yourself short. So I don't believe a lot of fighters when they say, I think they over embellish when they say things like, I'm doing this for the fans. No, I think you're doing it because that's your style. I think Brandon Rios, even Robert Guerrero, his last fight, that's who he's become as a fighter. I don't think if he had the ability to dodge or outthink and not get punched upside the head by Keith Thurman, he would say, you know what, for the fans' sake, I'm going to take these punches. I just really don't believe it. I have a very hard time believing that. I think certain people have an exciting style and they take risks and chances, in turn making it fun for the fans. But I don't think that Robert Guerrero had the ability to outbox Keith Thurman and dodge all the shots that he didn't dodge, and he just chose not to do it for the fans. And if that is your MO, that's stupid. And I agree with Floyd Mayweather when he says stuff like the fans aren't going to pay my medical bills later in life, especially in boxing nowadays, because fans are fickle. You got guys like Adrien Broner, and he does his fair share of annoying shit. But truth be told, he has one loss, and people dog him like he's getting the shit beat out of him every fight, which isn't the case. He has one loss, and he jumped up 2 weight divisions to get that loss. And he only had, that was his second fight at welterweight. But people talk down on him because they dislike him. So, I don't really condone a fighter fighting, like dumbing it down based on what they can do in order to appease fans. I think that's stupid. So again, I think a lot of people exaggerate when they say, oh, I'm doing this for the fans. No, I think you're doing it because that's how you fight, and you don't have the ability to dodge all those shots or use head movement. That's not how you fight. And as a fighter, you have to use your genetic makeup, your DNA as a fighter. You have to be who you are. So if Brandon Rios is mostly offense, that's because that's who he is. That's what's natural to him. I don't think he has the ability to move like Sweet Pea Whitaker, and he's just not using it, if that makes sense. Next question is the Diesel, from the Diesel. Ego, if Danny Garcia beats Lamont Peterson, do you want him to take one more fight at 140 against Broner, or move up to face a legit 147-pounder? Good question. I would say move up. Danny Garcia, he's actually proven a lot at 140. He's accomplished a lot. Beat Nate Campbell, Kendall Holt, Zab Judah, Eric Morales, then beat him again by stoppage. He beat Amir Khan, who was the underdog in that fight. A lot of people thought he was getting knocked out by Lucas Batista. He beat him. He beat Mauricio Herrera. I had him losing, but on paper, he won that particular fight. So if, in fact, he gets past Lamont Peterson, yeah, why not move up? Plus, for the last couple of fights, he's saying he wants to move up to welterweight. Why not actually do it? I think he's a young kid. He's growing. He's big and kind of outgrowing the division size-wise. So that's why this fight's taking place at a catchweight. So why not move up? Broner versus Garcia is a good fight, but Broner, he's kind of on the comeback trail. I've yet to see Broner in with the top level of opposition that gave him his first loss, like a Maidana, somebody who's been up there, good experience. John Molina, his last 2 fights, he lost before the Broner fight. So that's kind of where he was with his career. Carlos Molina got stopped by Amir Khan and was no longer undefeated when Broner fought him. You got guys like Emmanuel Taylor, who lost to Chris Algieri, who nearly lost to Ruslan Provodnikov, and certainly lost to Manny Pacquiao, and in that kind of thing. So I want to see Broner in there with some of the same types of competition that got him his first L to prove where he's at. And if I was Danny Garcia or Angel Garcia, Team Garcia, I don't think a Broner fight is worth detouring your career path to stick around for a Broner fight. You know what I mean? Because if he gets past Lamont Peterson, then he's the man. He has a very solid, and the only guys left at 140 are Adrien Broner or Victor Postal. So, I mean, I think at that point he's done enough. If he beats Lamont Peterson, no controversy and is clear cut, then why not move up to 147? Like I said, I wouldn't stop what I'm doing to chase Broner when I've already have the resume that Danny Garcia has at 140. That's my opinion. Next question is from Sinicia. Why does Mayweather lollygag on the heavy bag? Pacquiao is very intense on the bag when on bag sessions. Ken Porter said that Mayweather doesn't appear to get anything done on the heavy bag. Mayweather, this is my opinion. Mayweather's been in the sport 18, 19 years as a pro, not just fighting, but as a pro level competition for 18, 19 years, whatever it's been. I think Mayweather, it's like he's used to the cameras and lights. So I think it's about preservation. He's really trying to preserve his body. He's pushing 40. Why overextend yourself and work harder than you need to? You've already been there, done that. It's similar to like working out. When I was younger, I used to always just go to the gym, do no cardio, legs a little bit, but I would lift heavy. That was my main focus, was lifting heavy. But as you get older, your joints get like different, like weakened, and you're more susceptible to injuries and different things like that. So as I evolved in terms of working out, it's not all about lifting heavy only. That's what my whole goal was in the gym before, is to lift heavy. I don't know if I thought it was more impressive or what. It was just that was where my head was. But now I do cardio when I work out, core exercises. I do stretching. I lift heavy some days, different things like that. I mix it up a bit more because it's not all about purely lifting heavy to me. So again, I think that's the evolution of Mayweather. He has brittle hands. He's getting older. So why try to play George Foreman and rip through the heavy bag and do all this and that when you're still showing up on fight night? Who cares? You know what I mean? I doubt, like Canelo was killing the heavy bag before the Mayweather fight. But look at the Mayweather-Canelo fight, what happened in fight. So I don't think Mayweather cares about looking fancy on the heavy bag or looking like he's destroying it. Plus, he has brittle hands. So, again, I think it's about preservation. He's just trying to preserve himself. Pacquiao, just like I said with the earlier question, you have to be who you are as a fighter. I think intensity, having that explosive style is Pacquiao. That's what he does. That's how he fights. So he has to be the fighter he is. And if that includes an intense heavy bag, that's cool. But again, for Mayweather, I don't think he cares. I think he's doing it to go through the motions, to train his body, to get used to it. And I mean, truthfully, I wouldn't care either. I mean, who cares about looking sensational at the heavy bag? Like when Canelo got the shit beat out of him and outboxed thoroughly and looked dumb like a schoolboy, I doubt people are going back to the Ellie Seckbag video where Canelo was killing the heavy bag. Like, Canelo got his ass beat, but he destroying that heavy bag. So, I mean, I think people overrate that. You know what I mean? It's media days. They're to look flashy. I wouldn't overextend myself and do too much either. Truth be told, you've been through a lot of training camps. You get older, you evolve. So it's less about media days and more about what you do when the lights are shining brightest. So I feel him on that. I wouldn't really care about looking sensational on the heavy bag. If it looks sensational, then great. But if not, then just worry about fight night. And again, like Pacquiao, he looks great on the heavy bag because that's his personality or his characteristics. So that's my personal take on it. Why Mayweather looks like he does on the heavy bag. And the other thing is he goes for long durations. Like, it's one thing to hit the heavy bag intently for 5 minutes versus do what he does immediately after getting off the treadmill, immediately after sparring, immediately after when your body's exhausted and you've been working out already an hour and a half. So, again, to each his own. That's kind of what I think. Next question, R&B Wave 14. Ego, do you really see Adonis Stevenson finally coming together for a unification bout with Sergey Kovalev? I mean, Sergey is currently holding the other 3 titles at 175 now, so I wouldn't understand any other move for Adonis at this point. I can't see how Adonis could be content continuing to go down this road and putting this fight off. Just a quick addition to that. Adonis Stevenson already has a fight even before Pacquiao Kovalev was finalized, or not, the outcome was finalized. That fight was on, and Adonis Stevenson's fighting Sakio Bika. So if he gets past Bika, absolutely, Sergey Kovalev is the destroyer. He's the crusher. He's looking like the man. Adonis Stevenson should be gunning for that. As a lineal champion, lightweight or light heavyweight champion, he should be wanting and desperate to fight Kovalev. Other thing is he's from Russia, and he's a road warrior. He came to Jean Pascal's backyard as champion, where he has an advantage. Pascal has a crowd advantage. There was a lot of people, sound pretty loud, and they're rooting for anything good that Pascal did. He did all of that in Pascal's backyard and got the stoppage. So, I mean, he shows no fear. And the other thing is, Adonis Stevenson represents Canada also. I don't think Kovalev will have a problem with that. I think he just wants to fight and prove his worth, to be honest. So Adonis Stevenson should absolutely have Kovalev as his #1 site without any shadow of a doubt if he gets past Bika. That's my honest opinion. Plus, there are no excuses. Adonis Stevenson can't be like, oh, Kovalev's with HBO, when the biggest fight of the century that had the most problems, Mayweather-Pacquiao, somehow, some way, got resolved. I feel like from this point on, there's no excuses for anybody. If they manage to get Mayweather-Pacquiao, one of the most problematic fights in boxing history that lasted 6 years, if they got that done, then there's no way they can't get a lesser fight. And I say lesser, not in terms of action or it being a good fight, but the magnitude. Mayweather-Pacquiao is probably the biggest fight in boxing history, and they got it done. So anything else is less than Mayweather-Pacquiao at this moment. So absolutely, if they got that done, then there's no reason they can't get a fight like Kovalev. They're not, I mean, even Kovalev, as much as I like the guy and I've been putting people on him for a long time, these guys aren't superstars. I'm not talking about in Canada. I'm talking about international superstar. Like if I talk to random people on the street and say, hey, who is this man, and showed a picture of Adonis Stevenson, they'll probably think he's, you know what I mean, a rapper or some shit, or a singer or something. They're not going to know. They're not going to know Kovalev. So I don't think they have that type of brand yet where they're like, I think Triple G, and this is not a knock on them as fighters. This is just my honest opinion. Triple G, I think his fan base is growing more rapidly than Kovalev. And that's my honest opinion. I'm not saying it's right or it's who's better as a fighter. I'm just saying what I think. And again, if those fighters in Mayweather and Pacquiao could get it done, there's no excuse. Hopkins had been fighting on Showtime and managed to work a fight out with Kovalev on HBO. So really, there's no excuse why this can't get made. And I think Adonis Stevenson, there is no other move. He's going to be back to a wall. People are going to want answers if he gets past Bika. Next question from Captain Punch Boxing. Do you think Floyd is the last bad guy we'll see again in boxing? No, I definitely don't. I think these types of things come in spurts. I think Adrien Broner's picking up that end of the torch very well. If anyone wants to compare anything, people back in the day were comparing Broner's style to Floyd, which is inaccurate in my opinion. Compare that. He's hated like Floyd. And he's younger. You know what I mean, Floyd? I don't think Floyd was hated this much when he was younger. Like when he was fighting Diego Corrales and stuff. I don't think people hated him. It was after he beat Oscar De La Hoya where he became the quote-unquote villain. People hate Broner now. and they have for a while. So I think Broner's he's definitely embracing the villain, and they're always going to be bad guys. You had Mayorga. There's a ton of guys, so I don't think villains will go anywhere. You're always going to have the good guys like the Oscar De La Hoyas, the Sugar Ray Leonards, where they're pretty wholesome. People like them, and then you're going to have the villains. I mean, it comes with the territory. You're going to have both. You're going to have people who talk shit, and then people who are like cool, calm, and collected and humble. So I don't think villains are going anywhere. And the final question, Aaron Osborne. And how would you think a match between Thurman and Bradley would go? That's a tough one. I really don't know on that one because I can make a strong case for both of them. I guess I would say a slight edge to Thurman. He's a bit younger. I don't know if he hasn't had the same type of competition Bradley has, so I don't think he's been in as many wars as Bradley. Bradley's been in some wars, like the Kendall Holt fight. He got knocked down. Ruslan Provodnikov was brutal. The two Pacquiao fights. Bradley has a really good resume. People sleep on that. Bradley has a really good resume. Juan Manuel Marquez in those types of fights. So I would say Bradley has by far a superior resume, which also comes with more wars and more tough fights for him than Keith Thurman. So I think Keith Thurman's probably a bit fresher, and I'll give him a slight edge, but I would never count Bradley out just because Bradley, he has a granite chin. He showed you that in the Ruslan Provodnikov fight, which was at 147. And I mean, truthfully, I've never been punched by either, so I don't know who hits harder at 147, Ruslan Provodnikov or Keith Thurman. I mean, they both do damage, and Bradley was getting hit flush, and then he somehow, some way came to outbox him. So, I mean, hopefully Joel Diaz and Bradley don't have to go through that again, going in there with a massive puncher and trying to fight with the chip on their shoulder. So I feel like Bradley would come out smart. He was smarter with Diego Chavez. Unfortunately, that headbutt occurred and it swole his face up. So he got pretty lumped up in that particular fight and probably ended up making it more competitive than it probably would have been had he not had an injury. I feel the same thing with Keith Thurman. I think Keith Thurman would have been even more of a shutout with Robert Guerrero had he not got that huge knot growing on his head. But those things happen in boxing, so you got to deal with it. Thurman and Bradley is a great fight, though. Like I said, I give a slight edge to Thurman because he shows he can box and he can bang, and he's a little bit fresher. But like I said, I would never count Bradley out. He could pull a rabbit out of the hat. Probably out slick Keith Thurman. You know what I'm saying? So we'll have to see. Let me know what you guys think of Monday Mail Day. I try to get to a lot of questions. Make sure you comment, like. As always, hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video is Ego signing off.